Hello, people of the world, and welcome back on the Marry in Motion podcast. Today, I want to talk with you about the most impactful trip I ever did, and probably also my favorite ever. Last year, in November 2025, I went to Nepal for 1 month. I didn't expect it to be that good and that impactful for me. I wanted to go on this trip for a long time now. To be real with you, it was after I saw a YouTube video about someone that summited Everest. And I've seen such pretty landscapes in this video. I've seen Nepal and those villages, the colorful flags in the wind. And I thought, I want to go there too. And this idea just stayed in my mind. It wasn't really concrete or anything. It was just, I would also like to do that. So this was maybe mid-2024. And at that time, I just got a job offer for a contract that would last 1 year. So I said to myself, right after this, when I stop my job, I will go to Nepal. So I said to myself and to everyone around me, in November 2025, I will go to Nepal and I will do a trek. And I just kept repeating that. And for me, it was just, I wanted to do it and I knew I would do it. But nothing was really sure yet. I'm sure everyone around me thought, yeah, she's saying that. Let's see if she really does it. But I really wanted to. And then I started my job and then I got stuck into the daily life. And I was like, don't forget, Mary, don't forget that you have to go to Nepal in November. I started to look a bit more into it, seeing what was possible. I contacted some people that did it too. Also, when I was moving in Brussels for this work, I visited some apartments, and a girl whose apartment I visited, she was in Nepal maybe 2 months ago, so we talked about it, and I thought, that's a sign. But I looked into it, but I still didn't book my flights, because deep down I was still scared, because I've lived all my life in the Pyrenees. In the south of France, it's some mountains, but I've never really hiked. My parents were not really doing that kind of stuff, so me neither. It was still a bit scary to go into a new country that I don't know, to hike, which is not my comfort zone at all. I've traveled before, I've been to countries I don't know, but just to visit, not to do sports. And a sport I don't really know and I'm not really comfortable with. So I decided that in August 2025, I would go back home and hike in the Pyrenees, see if I really like it. Because I never really hiked and I never did any trek, I didn't really know if I liked it. I don't really remember when I took my tickets, but I think it might have been a bit before the summer, because I also thought that I needed to make a decision quite early, because then I would need to train. I was always quite sporty in my life, I would say, but I was going to the gym mostly, so never really cardio or focused on what is needed for hiking. So I thought if I want to be motivated to train, I need to have my tickets. So before summer, I booked for actually a bit less than a month. And as soon as I booked, I regretted my decision to not stay a bit longer, because I think I had something on the 5th of December, so I needed to be back a bit earlier. And I booked like a week before. And then I thought, what am I going to do for a week? I could just come back 2 days before what I have to do on the 5th of December. Then I really wanted to change my tickets, but I couldn't, I needed to pay some fees and everything, so I didn't do it. And then maybe 1 or 2 months later, they changed the time of the flight. So then they said, we had to change the time of the flight. If it's not fine for you, you can reschedule your flight for free. So I thought, oh wow, this is my chance. So I rebooked my flight for a few days later so I could enjoy more. I wanted to have as much time as possible there, but I hadn't planned anything. So I thought I would just go with the flow. But first, I needed to train. I really didn't know how to train hiking while I was living in Belgium, which is just flat. And I was living in Brussels, which is a big city. You don't have that much place to hike around, even on flat ground. So I was already going to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, maybe more 3. And I was doing my regular stuff. But I changed one day to be just stairs. So for 1 hour, I was just doing the stairs masters, which was very hard, but I felt like I was doing something. I had no idea what else to do. Then I also started running a bit because I thought I needed to train my legs and my endurance. But I was not running long distances. My maximum was 7 kilometers. And it was 45 minutes. So it was really not the same as hiking for the whole day. But yeah, that's all I thought about doing. And then I tried when I could to go hiking. So I did one portion of the, I don't know how it's called in English, but it's some kind of a path all around Brussels, which is, I think, 90 kilometers. And you can just do some little parts. And I've done only one, but that was an option I could do. Then I went hiking next to my parents' place in the Pyrenees, and I thought I was good. I was going completely alone. So my plan was just to stay in hostels in Kathmandu and then meet some people and maybe go hiking with them. I really didn't want to hire a guide. First of all, I didn't want to pay. That was the real reason. And also, I didn't want to be with someone all the time, especially not with a man, because usually they are men. And someone I didn't know, someone that might not speak English, and that would just have to babysit me all the time. I mean, that's how I see it. So I really don't want to take the guide. So my plan was to go there, meet some people, because I thought in the hostels in Kathmandu, just everyone is here for trekking. I was sure I would meet people there. And then I thought I could just go with them and stay together, because I was confident going alone in Nepal, but I would prefer to go in the mountains with someone. Also, it's not advised. I don't even know if they would let me go if I would have been alone. So that was my plan. But I think a month before leaving or something, I don't know, I was with my dad and he said, yeah, come have dinner with my friends. So I've been to my dad's friend's place and we are just talking. There are some people. And then I say, yeah, I'm going to Nepal. And one of them just looks at me and say, what? I know someone there. And then directly he's calling them. And they pick up and he's like shoving the phone in my face and be like, hey, look, it's my friend. And she's going to Nepal and like talking with this guy that I've never seen ever. And on the phone, I was a bit awkward. But then they were like, yeah, come to my house in Kathmandu. Okay. So then it was settled. I was going to that guy's place. His name was Dinesh. He was not there when I came, but his wife and daughter were at home. And so that's the one who hosted me. So they are locals, they are Nepalese people. And I was hosted in their house in Kathmandu, which was amazing. I was hosted by local people. I could see the real culture. They could show me around. It was amazing. But if you heard about my plan earlier, I planned to meet other people who would go trekking with me. And now I couldn't because I was kind of isolated. Not really isolated, but not around other potential trekkers. So I was starting to get a bit worried. But first, I spent the first few days exploring Kathmandu with them. It was overwhelming. The traffic was so dense, and even in the very center, the touristy place where there are all the shops, there's so many scooters and even cars. You cannot walk. You are just all the time squeezed on a wall because so many scooters want to go, and then you get crushed and honked at, and you can never just enjoy a walk in the city. And even to go anywhere, it's a hustle. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing it and get to experience it with the locals. I took the public transport, the bus. It was crazy. After some time I got used to it and I kind of enjoyed it. But yeah, at the beginning it felt really not nice. And so much fumes and dust and yeah. But I've visited really cool places there, some temples, and I had my guide, like my host, which didn't really speak English, so she was trying to explain some stuff, some traditions, some buildings, but I couldn't get everything she said, and sometimes she just said, you can look at internet and you will see. So she was maybe not the best explaining guide, but she was very good at showing me what was interesting. And I felt like I was allowed to go to certain places because usually it's religious places that we visit. And so if I would have been alone, maybe I would have been awkward or shy to go to certain places to not bother the people there. But because I was with her, I knew that I could go there. She was telling me, yeah, you are allowed to go here, you can do that, you have to take off your shoes, you have to go clockwise around the temple. Stuff I might not have known if I would have been alone. So I felt safe with her to go around and explore, and I was not feeling rude because she would tell me if there was something I couldn't do. And she even blessed me several times. Sometimes you walk in the street and next to a temple there is some kind of paste, a red one, a black one, depending on the temple, and then she would put it on her forehead, say a prayer, and then put it on my forehead, say a prayer, and then we would walk around the temple. And all of that I could only experience thanks to her. So in the end, I didn't meet any trekker, but I've had a very cool experience in Kathmandu with some locals. I still had the issue that I couldn't go trekking alone. So I started looking at Facebook groups, and I didn't really want to take a guide, but also my host was not feeling comfortable with me going trekking alone. She was afraid for me. So it got a bit into my head, and I posted a message on Facebook saying that I was either looking for a trekking buddy or someone to share the cost of a guide with. Many people contacted me, but only guides, no other trekker. So I thought, shit, I have to hire a guide. That's the only option I have. And then one specific guide contacted me, and he told me that he had someone else already booked or interested. And so if I would add up, then it would be him and us two. And so it would share the cost, and I would be with someone else, not just him. So I thought it's a good option. He sent me her number, And I talked with her and she said, oh no, but I'm not taking a guide at all. She just talked with some people to know a bit like me. But the guy seemed to say that she was coming with him, but actually she was not. So anyway, we ended up going, just the two of us. She was called Susanna. She was a Czech girl. Yeah, we just met randomly like that. We went together in the city to get our permits. So that's how we met the day before going on the trek. And then the morning after, we took the bus together to go trekking. Also, I haven't told you how I decided which trek to do. I had some in my mind. First of all, I wanted to do the tour of the Annapurnas. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I know someone that did this trek and was super happy about it. But she did it maybe 20 years ago. And so I thought that it would be too crowded. I asked a bit around and everyone was saying that it was really crowded and they were building a road in the last section, so it was not possible to do everything on foot. So I thought it was not the best option. Then I looked a bit at what was around Kathmandu and I found the Langtang Valley Trek, which is 7 days. But there is also an option to do a longer trek, which I thought would be the best because it's not very known and it's only 7 days, which is good for me for my first trek. And I also thought if I feel really good, I can also extend it. So that's what we went for. We had 8 hours of bus from Kathmandu to Siabru Besi, which was the last city where we could go by bus, and then we had to walk. The bus drive was the worst thing I ever did in my whole life. It was a small bus with, I don't know how to explain, the seats were they were like super big cushions, so they seemed comfortable at first, but then when we tried to sit, there was no place for the legs. Literally, Susanna, my friend, was very tall, and so she couldn't put her legs at all. She tried every position, she couldn't. And for me, I just squeezed my chins in the hole, but that's all. It was super uncomfortable. But that was not the worst. There was blasting music the whole time, and the road was in such bad shape. It was shaking so much. Everyone was sick. My head was pounding. It was crazy, and we went so close to some cliff edges. Sometimes I really thought it would be the end. And they were going so fast in those just some rocky roads next to the edge. Oh my god. We had also a lot of checkpoints, 2 or 3 I think, to check if we had our permits. Then we arrived in the village, Siabru Besi. We arrived quite early because I think we left at 5. Once we were there, we had to register to the police. We slept in a nice hotel for the night, and then we started walking the day after. At first, we were a bit low. I'm saying low, it was 1,500 meters. We started the first day, and we were more in the forest waterfall vibe. It was quite cold, I remember, in the morning. It was very wet and in the shade. And we walked the whole day. There were regularly some tea houses on the side of the road where we could get some snacks, just stop to have a tea, have lunch, and sleep. So really regularly there are those. So we planned some steps that we saw on internet, what most people do, but we also thought if we are feeling very tired or if we really want to keep going, it's also possible because we can stop literally anywhere. The first day we got into the rhythm. Susanna was a bit quicker than me. She was a bit more used to it. So I was really struggling in the way up. It was really going very much uphill. and there were some stairs, so it was really not easy. In the end, I managed. Just I was a bit slower, but it's fine. We learned to know each other. We talked. We also had a lot of time just walking, not talking, being in our thoughts, looking at the landscape. We also saw quite some other trekkers going up and down, a lot of porters, which is impressive. When I was struggling in the stairs, they were just double crossing me with maybe, 30, 40 kilos on their backs. And wow, it was really impressive. We saw a lot of mules carrying stuff uphill, many groups, a lot of guides, really. I was impressed by how many people hired guides and even porters. I don't know what to think about it. I'm a bit against hiring people to carry your stuff while you could just pack less. But also, for the porters, it's an easy job, I guess, if just one girl's backpack. I think it's really fine. I mean, they're used to carry so much for the hotels, like so much food, and so just carrying someone's clothes, I think it's okay. And they need it to become a guide. They need to be porters for quite some time. So on one side it's nice, but also I just think it's useless. But anyway, I don't want to judge because it makes the trek more accessible for someone that cannot carry their own bag. So on one side it's good. And it creates some money for the locals. So I guess it's okay. But if you ever go there, I assure you, you don't need a porter when you do a 2 weeks trek. I'm not so much trained and I could carry my own backpack. You just need to pack light. Now let me tell you about a typical day on the trek. First of all, we would wake up, not very early, I must say, maybe 8:30. We would go. So, wait. Where we were staying was some guest houses where we had a room with 2 little beds, and there were always a common room which had a fire, and it was also the place where we would have food and meet the other travelers. So we would wake up, go to the common room, have breakfast, chat a bit with everyone, pack our bags, and go. Then we would walk for a few hours, maybe grab a tea on the way if we wanted a little break, if we had a hard part in the morning, then have lunch. Susanna didn't really have big lunch, but I really needed to. Then walk again. Then we usually arrived around 3 p.m. at our evening location. Then we would enter usually a cluster of a lot of guest houses. The owners would fight to get our attention and to have us in their rooms. We were lucky because it was the beginning of the lower season, so there were not that many tourists, so we could bargain to have the room for free, which was a very good deal every time. We would always say that we would stay to their place, have 2 meals, and the room for free. It worked every time, but at the end not so much anymore, but over there it was common to have that. So we would bargain a bit with them, then they would give us the room for free. We would get our stuff, then, very important, take a shower as early as possible, because usually they don't have hot water, but they have some kind of system on the roof where the water gets heated by the sun. So if you shower around 3 p.m, there is still a bit of sun, so then you might have some warm-ish water. So that was the trick. Really shouldn't wait to have a shower. Then we would chill around. If there was still some sun outside, but then the sun was setting very, very early, and then it would get very cold, so we would just go to the common room, enjoy the fire, chat with everyone, then have dinner a bit early, then go to the room, read, sleep. That was the best. I loved this kind of routine. In most of the guest houses, there was no internet, but there was electricity most of the time, so we could charge our phones. In most places, there was electricity in the evening, but not in the morning. Don't ask me why, but yeah. And the Wi-Fi, when we were lower, we had to pay for it, but when we got higher, I think we managed to bargain to have the Wi-Fi for free. I think on day 2 or 3, we met a group of people that we then stayed with for quite some time. So it was a group of 4 people, all French, and I don't know, the vibe quite matched, and we stayed with them. We always stayed all together in the same hotel, which helped for our bargaining because we were 6 people. So they really liked it and they really wanted to have us. So we walked until the end of the valley. I think it took 3 days. We ended up in Kyanjin-Gompa at almost 4,000 meters. We took 3 days to get there because we had to have a step. From 3,000 meters, it's not very good to go more than 500 meter elevation per day. So we slept at 3,000 meter. So we had to take a break in a village at 3,500 called Langtang village. And then the next day, we had a very small day to go to Kyanjin-Gompa, where we arrived at 4,000. It was a very short day, but we started to feel the altitude, which was really weird feeling because you don't really feel it, but as soon as the road goes a bit up, you get out of breath super easily. So at the beginning I didn't understand. I thought maybe I was just not in shape today, can happen, but then it happened to everyone and it was crazy. As soon as there is just 1 or 2 steps, you are like out of breath and it's very exhausting. So it was my first time in high altitudes, and there was also a risk that some of us would not feel good because there is a lot of cases of altitude sickness. It happens mostly if you go too quickly, but also some people are just more prone to be sick. You can be having some dizziness, headache, nausea, and the only thing you can do is go down. And some people can just never go up. So we slept at 4,000 meters, and there in the night I also could feel it. The heart is beating super quickly because it's trying to get oxygen everywhere. And so I was trying to sleep and my heart was just too fast. I couldn't relax. And then I was hearing it in my ears. It was crazy. I couldn't sleep that night. None of us could. So we took some days off there because the first plan was to stay 2 nights and then go down. But none of us felt really good. So we slept 1 night in Kyanjin-Gompa. Then the second day we just acclimatized. We walked a bit around. We stayed at approximately the same elevation. And then the day after, we decided, so me and 2 people we just met, to summit Tserkore, I don't know how to pronounce it, which is a 5,000 meter summit. We decided to do that with a guide because it's like, I don't want to be reckless. So, and it was full of snow. So we preferred to be careful, and we were 3, so we could also split the cost. So on the second day in Kyanjin-Gompa, we woke up very early, and at 4 a.m. we set up to do the summit. It was minus 12 degrees. It was so cold, really. My water froze in my water bottle. It was crazy. And then we hiked. It was hard, but especially for one girl that was with us. She was really struggling. Her heart was hurting. She had headaches. She really felt the altitude. So we thought that we might not make it. I didn't know how the group would behave if she gave up, but I think I would have kept going anyway. I don't know, it didn't happen, so. But it was so cold and it was so hard to keep going. Our feet were frozen and we were so out of breath and we were going so slowly. Then we even put spikes on our shoes to walk on the snow. That was cool. Then it got better when the sun came. And then eventually we reached the summit. It was weird for me because everyone was so happy to arrive there. But for me it was just, okay, it's done. I don't know how to explain. It does that for a lot of things in my life. But because I knew I would manage, I just didn't know how much time it would take. But I thought I would just never give up. I would maybe walk very slowly, do a lot of breaks, but I would go anyway. In my head, the option that I didn't manage didn't exist. So when I arrived up there, it was just like, okay, it's done. And I felt so much contrast with the two others that were with me because the girl struggled so much. She really thought she wouldn't make it. So for her, it was really like, wow, I managed. But for me, not. And I'm a bit sad. I would have loved to have that feeling of accomplishment, of being so happy, but I didn't. But I still enjoyed it. The summit was amazing. We drank tea up there that our guide brought. We took a lot of pictures. We enjoyed just being there. But then it got a bit cold, so we went down. The way down was magnificent. The landscapes were wow. The mountains, we had a view because it's one of the highest around in this area. So we had a view on the whole valley. We saw all the other peaks. We were in the snow. Wow, it was really crazy. And because we went up in the night, then we had everything we didn't see on the way up. We hiked the Tserkori summit. Then we went down. So it was way quicker to go down. We took 3 days to go up, only 2 days to go down. And then I had to choose. Should I stop after 7 or 8 days and go back the way I came? Or should I keep going the long way through a lake that goes very up again and then walk almost back to Kathmandu on foot? It was very hard to decide. Until the very last moment, I didn't know what I would do. But in the end, I took the long way. And I was very happy about it. Susanna also chose to do it. If I didn't go, she would have gone anyway. So this was not so much in the balance for me. But I thought, I'm already here. And I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a bit tired. But I can manage. And we decided to take a break. So after the intersection, we slept 2 nights in the same place and we spent the whole day just doing nothing. And it was super nice because the landscape really changed. We went to another valley, which was less high peaks, less snowy, more villages, less tourists. It felt more authentic. But it was really not cool because we went down almost at 1,500 and then we went up again to more than 4,400 meters. So we were a bit annoyed to have gone up to the Langtang Valley, then down, then up again. But it was really worth it because the highest point of this second part was around the Gosai Kunda Lake, which is a sacred lake, and it was so amazing. The lake is at 4,300 meters, which is very high, and it was so pretty. It was very challenging to get there because it was going up a lot, way more than during the previous one, because the distances were a bit shorter, but the elevation was quite high. And we again met some nice people. We had some teas. next to the lake, but we decided that this time we would not sleep so high. So it was a big day. We had to get to the lake, then there was a pass, then down to the villages to go sleep lower. I think this was the most challenging day we ever had because it was very, very long. We went very high. It was hard to breathe. It was in the snow. We didn't have any spikes for shoes. It was very slippery. There were rocks. We couldn't see the path. And it was so hard on the legs and on the knees. But then it was one of the prettiest things I've ever seen. We could see the valley on the other side with the Rocky Mountains, the clouds, and there was no one. We were just the only ones in this valley. It was amazing. Then we went down. I was really exhausted. We arrived at the village where we were supposed to sleep, and we didn't like the vibe. First of all, they asked us to pay for the night, which they never did before, so we felt like it was a scam because they were the only one after the pass. So we thought they just enjoyed this position. But then we would have paid if they would have been nice. But they were not. We didn't like the place. So we looked at the map and we saw that there was one, maybe 1 hour walk away from here. So we thought we would go. And it was on the way to like where we would go afterwards. So it was fine. So we are going there and we realized that this hotel doesn't exist. Our map were wrong because both our maps, which were different maps, said that there was a hotel there, and in the end there was nothing. So we decided to keep going until the next village. We were not even sure if there would be a hotel there. It was written yes on our map, but then we didn't trust it anymore. So we kept going. I was quite stressed. I don't think Susanna was. I don't know how. But I was stressed to arrive in the night. I was very tired. I didn't want to arrive too late. I was stressed. Also, the global elevation was decreasing. We thought that we would never go up again, but it was just ups and downs in the mountains. But then we saw a little hut and we saw some lights inside. So we went and it was a little hotel. They also asked us to pay for the room, but we liked the vibe and we had no choice, so we stayed there. It was the most rural, or like, I don't know, there was no water there was no electricity. It was so small and I don't know, it felt like we were in another century. But it was very nice. There were 2 other guests that I talked a lot with and the host was super nice. In the morning I saw the host bringing water from I don't know from where, probably a river downhill, and she was just carrying big pots of water on her back, and I felt so bad to have used that water during the night. But the view we had in the morning was amazing, really amazing. There was a sea of clouds in the valley and we were alone on this mountain. It was amazing and worth the hike we did the day before. I think this trip really changed me. During the trek, I was really at peace, if I can say. It was challenging during the day. We were moving our bodies, but we had no internet, no phones. Just, we had to walk in the prettiest landscapes ever. And that's all we had to do. We had to think about nothing else because we didn't have to think about the food. We could just stop, someone would cook for us. We didn't have to think about where we would sleep because there were hotels everywhere. So we just had to walk and that's all. I took so many pictures. It was really a photographer's paradise. I felt so chill. I don't know, I felt like my nervous system was slowing down and I was where I was meant to be. I wasn't stressed. I knew what would be tomorrow. I knew it would be like today, that I had nothing to think about. And it was an amazing feeling. I also felt more connected to nature. to what's really mattering in life. It sounds very cliche, but I swear, I really felt it. And so I really want to implement it in my life, being more connected to what's real, to the nature. And I also feel more chill in my whole life. I came back 3 months ago and I still feel more relaxed, that things don't really matter. Sometimes I could get very stressed in my daily life, or I would just always do everything too quickly. I would walk places so fast for no reason. And now I'm still doing it a bit because I'm still me, but I'm doing it a bit less and I feel way better. I also learned that I love hiking, which was not really the case before. I didn't really hike, so I started with the best or the worst. I mean, it would have been the worst if I didn't like it at the end, but I loved it. And now I have so many trek ideas that I want to do this year. I just want to go hiking. I want to go in the mountains. And also it makes me inspired. So stay tuned to more trekking content. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's a bit longer than I expected. I had a lot to say about Nepal. I still have many things I wanted to talk about, but this episode is already too long. So maybe I will do a part 2 about also my feelings in Kathmandu, everything I have to say about living with a local family. Anyway, I'm gonna leave you for today. I hope you felt inspired and maybe that now you want to go to Nepal, or at least that you would like to go try hiking and see if you love it. Thank you for listening to me and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.